My wife said, "You're sleeping on the couch until you apologize for something I didn't do." I said, "Okay, I didn't apologize." 3 weeks later, I'd converted the guest room into my bachelor pad. When she finally walked in, Trevor, a 38-year-old man who thought he understood the contours of his 10-year relationship with his wife, Diana, was summarily banished to the couch 3 weeks ago over an alleged crime, so laughably stupid it still sends a sharp, disorienting pain through my skull when I replay it. The supposed transgression? Flirting with our new neighbor, Melissa, a literally 23-year-old who had just moved in with her long-term boyfriend. The reality, which Diana chose to completely rewrite, was mundane and entirely innocent. I had simply been taking out the recycling bins. As I walked past the driveway, I noticed Melissa wrestling with a massive, unwieldy box that looked far too heavy for her. It was a simple moment of neighborly duty, the kind of small, decent human interaction that good people engage in every day. I stopped, offered a hand, and helped her carry the cumbersome object to her front door. We exchanged maybe 2 minutes of pleasantries, a quick chat about the noise of the move, the general feel of the neighborhood, and the usual small talk that fills those awkward new-resident moments. That was it. That was the whole, entire, fabricated crime. Unfortunately, Diana, 36, had been observing this benign exchange from the fortress of our living room window. To her, my simple act of chivalry was evidence of a grand betrayal. She went nuclear, a level of irrational, blinding fury I hadn't seen since she misplaced her favorite purse years ago. I was, according to her hysterical accounting, all over her, practically drooling with lust while I helped the young woman move what was likely a disassembled IKEA bookcase. When I attempted to interject with reason, to explain the trivial, factual nature of the event, she cut me down with a vicious, modern verbal weapon. "Don't gaslight me, Trevor. I saw what I saw. You're sleeping on the couch until you apologize and admit what you did." The sheer, monumental injustice of the accusation left me momentarily paralyzed. I stood there, processing the sudden, inexplicable shift into this absurd reality where helpfulness was a capital offense and my simple denial was twisted into emotional manipulation. After a beat of disbelieving silence, I made a decision that would redefine my future. A line was drawn. I looked her dead in the eye, devoid of the panic she expected, and simply said, "Okay." Her smirk faltered. "Okay, that's it?" she asked, genuinely surprised by my lack of groveling. "Yeah, okay," I replied, the new terms of engagement forming in my mind. "I'll sleep on the couch until you apologize." She stormed off, radiating indignation, assured that I, the pathetic, apologetic husband, would be forced to capitulate within hours. But she fundamentally misjudged me and the severity of the hill she chose to die on. I hadn't done anything wrong. I was not going to apologize for being a decent human being. That's simply not how respect works. Night 1 on the couch was pure torture. Our expensive, aesthetic couch was a masterpiece of design but a disaster for orthopedics. My back was a symphony of protest by morning. When Diana came downstairs, she attempted a casual but dominant confrontation. "Ready to apologize?" she chirped. "Nope," I said, brewing coffee, my spine screaming. She huffed, a theatrical sigh of disappointment, and left for work, the illusion of her control still firmly intact. By night 3, the farce had become intolerable. I was done with the couch. We had a guest room, a decent space, mostly utilized as storage for seasonal decor and Diana's overflow closet of things she couldn't part with. I relocated to the old, dusty futon in there. It was still far from a luxury experience, but it was miles better than the living room pit of discomfort. Diana noticed my absence from the couch. And the shift in my sleeping arrangement. "The couch too uncomfortable for you?" she asked, her voice dripping with triumphant condescension. "Yes." "Then apologize." Again, the smirk. She thought she had cornered me, that physical discomfort would be my breaking point. "Fine. Enjoy the futon," she conceded, thinking she'd scored a minor victory. This is where the story pivots, where my internal frustration transformed into a cold, calculated campaign of self-respect. I'm a project manager, I make good money, and while Diana is well compensated in marketing, we maintain separate accounts for personal spending after all the bills are paid. I had about $3,000 saved up for a new, high-end tool set, a goal I'd been patiently working towards. But the futon, the forced exile, and her smug certainty that she was winning suddenly gave those funds a far better, far more psychologically satisfying purpose, my personal secession. I decided to repurpose those funds for a new project, transforming the guest room into a self-contained sanctuary. The execution was clinical. Day 4, I ordered an $800 queen-sized memory foam mattress with same-week delivery. This wasn't about making do, it was about upgrading. Day 7, a raid on Facebook Marketplace yielded a gorgeous $200 leather recliner, a solid wood desk for $150, and a 55-inch TV someone was practically giving away for $300. I borrowed my buddy Rick's truck and moved it all in while Diana was conveniently visiting her sister, a perfect logistical window. By day 10, the room was humming with Amazon Prime energy. A $60 mini-fridge was installed, along with $50 worth of floating shelves. A $120 rug was carefully positioned, instantly changing the acoustic and aesthetic feel. It truly tied the room together. Day 14 was a nod to my own inner petty child, a $500 PlayStation 5 and a $200 soundbar. I topped it off with $40 blackout curtains because, well, why not enjoy perpetual night in my new domain? The finishing touches arrived by day 18, LED strips for ambient mood lighting, a couple of classic band posters that had been gathering dust in the garage, and, my absolute favorite, a $150 digital lock for the door. In 3 weeks, I had spent approximately $2,800, turning a forgotten storage space into my bespoke, personal bachelor pad, a space that was everything our old shared bedroom was not, exclusively mine, operating under my own rules, and perfectly aligned with my own vibe. Diana hadn't been in there once. Her power dynamic relied on my submission, and she was convinced she could maintain the stalemate simply by waiting for me to yield. She'd knock occasionally, calling me ridiculous, but she never physically crossed the threshold. She was playing a dangerous game of chicken. That game ended last night. I was in my newly minted sanctuary, reclined comfortably, playing Call of Duty Online with Rick, completely immersed in my new reality. Then came the sound of the doorknob rattling, a frustrated, almost desperate sound. "Trevor, why is this door locked?" I paused the game, ignoring Rick's confused chatter in my headset. "Privacy," I replied calmly. "Open this door right now," she demanded. "No thanks, I'm good." Silence. Then the banging. Hard, angry fist-to-wood pounding. "Trevor, open this door immediately." I stood up, walked to the door, but kept it firmly shut. "Diana, you banished me from our bedroom. This is my space now. You're welcome to apologize for falsely accusing me anytime." The ultimatum was clear. Her response, predictable, "I'm not apologizing. I saw what I saw. Open this door." No, then came the classic Diana maneuver. I heard the familiar sound of her picking up her phone and, instantly, putting the call on speakerphone so I could hear the carefully curated drama. It was her mother, Teresa. "Mom, he's lost his mind. He's locked himself in the guest room and won't come out." Teresa, loud as always, demanded an explanation. "What do you mean, locked in his own house?" Diana dramatically explained the digital lock. "He put a lock on the guest room. An actual lock with a code." Teresa, bless her, got straight to the point. "Well, why is he in the guest room, sweetie?" Diana paused, trying to find the most sympathetic phrasing. "He's being punished for what?" "He was flirting with the neighbor." Teresa's tone shifted from concerned to confused. "Was he really?" Diana's voice hardened. "Mom, Whose side are you on? I'm just asking, honey. What did he do exactly? Diana, forced to provide the humiliating details, finally whispered, he helped her carry a box. The silence that followed was deafening, even through the speaker. Then, that's it? Teresa asked, disbelief etched in her voice. Diana, sweetie, maybe you should apologize. Diana hung up immediately, the sound of her fury vibrating through the door. The locksmith threat came next, which I immediately counter-threatened by calmly reminding her I co-owned the house and had already Googled the legality of interior locks. She stopped. The texts began. A barrage of digital recriminations, this is insane. You're acting like a child. That room is for guests. All your clothes are still in our room. I calmly shot back, I bought new clothes. They're in my closet now. Her outrage escalated, demanding I stop claiming a room. I simply reiterated, you were being punished for something I didn't do, so I made alternative arrangements. Now I'm good here. The next morning, while I was at work, she finally crossed the line. I knew because I had legally placed a security camera in the room, which was now undeniably my private space. I watched, via my phone, as she tried the handle, found the door open. She must have used a hidden key or disassembled the lock, a property damage claim for later, and walked in. Her jaw literally dropped. She stood in the doorway for a full 5 minutes, staring at the queen mattress, the desk, the mini fridge, and the leather recliner. She touched the TV, sat in the chair, and then she noticed the PlayStation 5. The camera caught the genuine, crushing look of defeat, the realization of how thoroughly I had committed to my exile, how independent I had become. When I got home, she was waiting at the kitchen table, the anger replaced by a weary, defeated resignation. You really set up a whole apartment in there. She pressed for a financial breakdown, which I coldly provided, my personal savings, not marital funds. Then came the question, soft and final, you're really not going to apologize? I'm really not going to apologize for something I didn't do. The battle lines were fixed. Her attempt to break me had only resulted in me constructing a more comfortable fortress. This is ridiculous, she stated. It was ridiculous 3 weeks ago when you started it. Now it's just my new normal. She left the room, leaving me alone in a house where the marriage had become a diplomatic mission between two hostile sovereign states. My new normal was so good, in fact, that it became a permanent installation. I was in my room, writing this update, eating takeout, my game loaded, a cold beer from my personal fridge, and a profound sense of peace. The cost was high, but the price of maintaining my integrity was worth it. If she wanted to die on this hill, I was ready to build a whole damn house on mine. The situation, however, had to escalate. Diana, realizing that comfort wouldn't make me cave, tried to weaponize household necessities. She stopped doing my laundry. Joke's on her, I'd already anticipated this. I bought a compact washer/dryer combo off Craigslist for $400 and managed to squeeze it into the corner of my room. Next, she stopped cooking my portions for dinner. Again, a non-starter. I had my microwave and fridge, I started meal prepping on Sundays, and I even acquired an $80 air fryer that sat neatly on my desk, an emblem of my self-sufficiency. Then came the intervention, a house meeting she organized with her best friend, Vanessa, acting as a reluctant mediator. They cornered me in the living room, Vanessa pleading, Trevor, don't you think this has gone too far? I was unmoved. I'm just respecting Diana's decision. She wanted me out of the bedroom. Vanessa pointed to the obvious absurdity, but you've turned the guest room into a man cave. And it's supposed to be for guests. My defense was simple and logical, striking at the heart of her entitlement. What guests? Your mom who stays in hotels because she doesn't like our guest bathroom? Your brother who hasn't visited in 2 years? The room was in used storage. Now it's being used. The argument about spite versus comfort was futile. I was comfortable, she was not. Diana played what she thought was her ultimate trump card. Fine, then I'm taking the master bathroom completely. You can use the hall bathroom. I simply blinked. Okay. Vanessa looked shocked, Diana looked victorious. My acceptance was seen as a concession, but I knew better. The hall bathroom was right next to my new room. The master bathroom required walking through the old bedroom, which she now claimed exclusively. That night, I moved my toiletries and didn't stop there. I bought and installed a $60 rainfall shower head. I purchased one of those luxurious $200 Japanese toilet seats with the bidet function, a genuine game changer. I bought premium towels, a humidifier, and plants. The hall bathroom, once a basic, forgotten space, became a spa-level retreat in 48 hours. The irony was that by claiming the master bath, Diana had also claimed all the cleaning responsibilities for it. I overheard her complaining on the phone to her sister, Jenna, he doesn't even use it anymore. He just moved to the other bathroom and made it nice. He bought a bidet, Jenna, a bidet. The true fatal error came next. Diana's company announced they were moving to a hybrid schedule, 3 days in office, 2 days remote. She needed a home office space. And of course, she assumed the guest room, my room, would be the obvious solution. She knocked on my door at 7 a.m., Trevor, we need to talk about the guest room. It needs to be an office. I just laughed, the sound dry and final. My room? That's nice. Good for you. Her jaw tightened. You need to move your stuff out. I need an office. Then set one up in the bedroom. It's huge. When she claimed there wasn't space, I countered, then reorganize. Or you could stop being petty and give me the room. She tried one last, desperate attempt at compromise. I'll let you back in the bedroom if you give me the office. But I'd still have to apologize. Of course. Then no. She slammed the door and, 20 minutes later, I heard the sound of drilling. She was installing a desk in the corner of the communal living room. Her office was now a permanent, disruptive fixture in our shared space. I smiled, put on my new $300 noise-canceling headphones, and continued living in peace. Yesterday, I witnessed the crown jewel of Diana's mounting sense of entitlement, and it solidified my decision that this standoff was no longer about a box, it was about defining the future boundaries of my life. I came home to find the digital lock on my door visibly tampered with. There were distinct scratch marks encircling the keypad, a desperate, clumsy attempt to forcibly gain entry. The red light of my hallway camera, which I had strategically installed to face my door, seemed to blink mockingly at the evidence of her breakdown. I confronted her instantly, my voice controlled but steel hard. Did you try to break into my room? Her denial was pathetic, hiding behind a veil of faux concern. It's not your room. I needed to check if you're damaging the house by breaking and entering. I walked closer. Did you or did you not try to break the lock? The attempt to cause destruction on property I legally owned was the true violation. It's my house, too, she insisted, the last desperate mantra of her lost control. Which is why I can have a lock on my door, I retorted. And why you trying to break it is technically attempted destruction of property. She went momentarily pale, the realization that I was operating within legal parameters, and she was stepping outside of them, finally hit her. I installed the camera facing the door that very night, a full disclosure device in a common area, legal and necessary. The blinking red light was a constant, silent reminder of her failed attempt at aggression. The next step in her petty campaign was to weaponize my friendships. Rick came over to watch the game. As soon as he was inside my sanctuary, she erupted. You can't have people in there. Why not? It's my room. I don't want strangers in my house. Rick had been to our house 50 times, he was at our wedding. He's not a stranger, I stated flatly. And this is my room where I can have guests. In a breathtaking display of irrationality, she actually called the police. She told the dispatcher I was refusing to leave a room in her house. The poor cop who showed up looked utterly exhausted, having clearly dealt with domestic disputes centered on far more serious matters. He took one look at the situation, me, calm and explaining that I was in my room in the house I paid half the mortgage on, Diana, screaming about guest rooms and apologies. The officer quickly assessed the situation. "Ma'am, does he live here?" "Yes, but, is he threatening you?" "No, but, is he breaking any laws?" "He put a lock on an interior door of a house he owns." Diana fell silent, her plan evaporating under the harsh light of reality. The cop's final advice to both of us, ***, you two should probably get counseling, ***, sounded less like advice and more like a weary sentence. The financial warfare began immediately after the officer left. Diana sent me a Venmo request for $1,400, explaining it as half of your room furnishings since it's marital property. The audacity was astounding. I declined it and, with cold precision, sent her a counter-request for $1,900 for half of bedroom furnishings I'm not allowed to use. She declined mine and sent another one for $500 for emotional distress. I countered with a final, symbolic request for $1 for the box I helped Melissa carry. The Venmo skirmish ended there. Radio silence. The war of attrition continued, Diana's entitlement reaching new, frustrating heights. She changed the Wi-Fi password. Predictable, but easily solved, I had my own dedicated internet line installed directly to my room, paying $90 a month for the absolute luxury of digital peace of mind. Then came the noise campaign, constantly inviting friends over for loud wine nights, book clubs, and jewelry parties, all conveniently staged right outside my door. My investment in the soundbar and better blackout curtains proved invaluable. I simply increased the volume of my game and retreated further into my sanctuary. But the line was crossed irreversibly last Tuesday. I came home and immediately sensed something was wrong. My room door, which I had securely locked, was wide open. The digital lock had been completely removed. The sight was sickening. My property hadn't just been touched, it had been vandalized and invaded. My PlayStation was unplugged and moved, my mini-fridge was off, food already starting to spoil, and my bed was stripped, the sheets carelessly piled on the floor. Lying on my desk was a note, maintenance inspection required. Management. The sheer, deliberate pettiness, the pretense of a management, when we owned the house, was infuriating. I called her instantly, my composure finally shattering, replaced by a surge of justifiable rage. "What the hell, Diana? You broke into my room and touched my stuff." She was unapologetic. "The room needed inspection for damages. You removed my lock. That's destruction of property. Prove it." Her dismissive, challenging tone was the final straw. She had forgotten one crucial detail: I had been documenting everything. Every text where she admitted to kicking me out, the photos of the tampered lock, the police report from her false call, and now the evidence of forced entry and removed property. I didn't argue. I didn't yell. I simply said, "Okay." I called my lawyer. Not for divorce yet, but for a legal separation and a formal establishment of household boundaries. The paperwork she was served with 3 days later was a masterpiece of cold, clinical reality. It requested exclusive use of the guest room, my room, demanded damages for the destroyed lock, and sought a formal division of household spaces. She came to me crying, real tears this time, her manipulative facade finally cracking under the weight of legal consequence. "You got a lawyer? You're going to destroy our marriage over this?" I stood firm. "Me? I'm just sleeping in a guest room. You're the one who's been escalating for 6 weeks." She claimed she wanted me to fight for us by apologizing. I told her I showed I cared by respecting myself enough not to be gaslit. Her lawyer, according to mine, was thoroughly unimpressed with her case. Kicking a spouse out, destroying their property, and then claiming abandonment is not a winning strategy. In a desperate, ill-conceived attempt to win me back, Diana launched a charm offensive. She started cooking elaborate meals, walking around in lingerie, and bringing home treats from my favorite bakery. I remained courteous but distant, sticking to my routine, meal prepping, gaming with Rick, and working on coding courses. My emotional detachment was clearly confusing her, but I refused to be manipulated back into a cycle of appeasement. Then she brought out the nuclear option, a move so overtly manipulative it was almost pitiable. She invited Melissa, the neighbor I was accused of flirting with, and her boyfriend, Tony, over for dinner, without telling me. I walked in on a scene of forced domestic bliss, Diana, all smiles, playing the perfect hostess. "Trevor, join us. I was just getting to know our new neighbors better." Melissa looked mortified. I grabbed a protein shake from the kitchen, declined the strained invitation, and stated I had plans. "Don't be rude, honey," Diana hissed, the false affection sickening. "I'm good. Enjoy your dinner." My refusal caused Melissa to jump up, dragging a confused Tony out the door. Tony whispered, "What the hell was that?" as they left. Diana absolutely lost it. "You embarrassed me. You embarrassed yourself. You invited the woman you accused me of flirting with to make some kind of point. I was being nice. You were being manipulative. I'm trying to save our marriage by refusing to admit you were wrong." The lie was the end. I wasn't wrong. Then we have nothing to save. That was the line. Yesterday, Diana moved out. Not permanently, she claimed. She went to her sister Jenna's, but she packed bags and left a note, "Since you want to live alone so badly." The cruelest irony was that I didn't want to live alone. I just wanted my wife to acknowledge the simple truth, that she was wrong. That helping a neighbor was not a crime. That her overreaction didn't warrant weeks of punishment. Instead, she chose to implode our entire life. My lawyer was confident I had a strong case for keeping the house, given her voluntary departure and the documentation of her kicking me out first. But that victory felt hollow. I was sitting in my awesome room, the house quiet, too quiet. The text still came every few hours. "I miss you, you're ruining everything, just say sorry and we can forget this." 6 weeks ago, I helped carry a box. That was the crime that apparently destroyed my marriage. It's over. Not the protracted siege, but the marriage itself. That is definitely over. The whole insane saga of the guest room war finally reached its definitive conclusion. Diana remained entrenched at her sister's house for 2 agonizing weeks, filling her social media feeds with passive-aggressive quotes about knowing your worth, and the importance of believing people when they show you who they are. The profound lack of self-awareness required to post such sentiments, while she was the one who initiated the toxicity, was simply astounding and did not escape my notice. During her absence, I took decisive, practical steps. I got the house appraised, consulted with my lawyer regarding potential buyout options, and, perhaps most crucially, started therapy. It was a step long overdue, and one that provided critical clarity on the destructive behavioral patterns Diana had normalized over the years. And yes, I continued to refine my sanctuary, adding a small beer fridge, purely because I could, a final, defiant gesture of autonomy. Diana made her final, dramatic move with zero warning. I was working from home. My company, surprisingly, had been flexible during this bizarre domestic turmoil, when I heard a U-Haul pull up outside. She walked in with her brother, Kyle, radiating a false sense of ownership. "I'm taking my things," she announced. "Okay," I replied, maintaining a detached calm that visibly infuriated her. She then demanded the bedroom furniture, asserting it was half hers. "Then I'm taking the bed and the dresser. You can have the nightstands." "Cool." She was trying desperately to provoke a reaction, and when it didn't work, Kyle stepped in, adopting the role of the protective, judgmental brother. You really messed up, man. You know that. How's that, Kyle? I asked, folding my hands. You humiliated my sister, made her feel unwanted in her own home. I calmly offered the unvarnished truth. She kicked me out of our bedroom for helping someone carry a box. That's not what she told me, Kyle muttered, instantly revealing the filtered narrative Diana had been spinning. Diana interrupted, her eyes fixed on tangible assets. I want the TV from the living room, too. That's mine. Bought it before we got married. The receipt I have says otherwise, I countered, knowing exactly where the purchase record was. She flushed, momentarily defeated, and switched tactics. Fine. The kitchen appliances, then. We bought those together. You can have half. The sheer impossibility of her demand was breathtaking. How do I take half a microwave, Trevor? That's your problem to solve. Just like me sleeping on the couch was mine. Kyle tried to grab the coffee maker, but I stood in his way. That's from my room. Bought it 6 weeks ago. I pulled up the Amazon order on my phone, documenting my ownership. They spent 3 excruciating hours moving through the house, bickering over every joint purchase. Diana even attempted to reclaim my gaming chair from my room, claiming it was originally stored in the guest room. Yeah, I said, utterly deadpan. And you kicked me into the guest room. It's mine now. Let a judge decide. She backed down. The real explosion came when she discovered I had formalized the division of the attic storage. She came storming down the stairs, raging. You changed the locks on the attic storage. No, I put a padlock on my section. Yours is still open. How did you even divide it? Tape line down the middle. Your Christmas decorations and old clothes are on the left. She checked, confirming the perfectly measured, utterly pathetic division. This is pathetic, Trevor. We're adults. Adults who got kicked out of their bedrooms don't usually measure storage spaces, but here we are. Kyle jumped in again, trying to call me a petty little. I cut him off, my voice dangerously low. Kyle. Choose your next words carefully. You're in my house. That stopped them both. Diana, what do you mean for now? She asked, finally registering the gravity of the situation. I mean, we're getting divorced. The house will be sold or bought out. This ends. The final manipulation was laid bare. You're divorcing me over this? Over you. Kicking me out, falsely accusing me, refusing to apologize, breaking into my room, destroying my property, calling the police on me, and now taking half our stuff. Yes. She collapsed onto the hallway floor. This isn't how it was supposed to go. I asked the question that had been burning for 6 weeks, how was it supposed to go, Diana? You were supposed to apologize, sleep on the couch for a few nights, feel bad, then come back and appreciate me more. Appreciate you for falsely accusing me? That's not fighting for marriage. That's playing games. Kyle helped her up, and she tried one final, desperate appeal. If you loved me, you'd apologize just to end this. If you loved me, you wouldn't need me to apologize for something I didn't do. They left with the U-Haul half full, Diana crying, Kyle muttering threats. The divorce papers were filed 2 weeks later. She attempted to fight it, demanding counseling, but the court-mandated mediator took one look at our convoluted story and essentially declared the marriage beyond salvage. Diana's lawyer wisely advised her to accept the buyout offer. I'm keeping the house, paying her half the equity, a price I'm happy to pay for peace and ownership. My room is perfect, and now I get the master bedroom back, too, though I might just knock down the wall and create a single, enormous suite. The last text exchange was telling. This is really it over a box, she lamented. It was never about the box, I replied. Then what? It was about respect, trust, partnership. You showed me you don't believe in any of that. Jealousy is normal. What you did after wasn't. She didn't respond. I'm doing okay. The house is quiet, but it's a peaceful quiet. I've started dating a bit, being completely upfront about the guest room saga. Most people are shocked, some call me stubborn, others a legend for the man cave transformation. Rick helped me move the old furniture back into the master bedroom last weekend. Walking into that room felt strange, like visiting the scene of a crime, but I'm reclaiming it bit by bit. Diana is still at her sister's, still posting quotes about toxic relationships and red flags, still telling anyone who listens that I ruined our marriage over nothing. But it wasn't nothing, it was everything. It was every time she dismissed my feelings, every time she demanded an apology for her own delusion, every time she chose control over honest communication. The box was merely the last, insignificant straw that finally shattered the camel's back. Do I regret not just saying sorry? Absolutely not. If I had, the cycle would continue. She would remain controlling, I would remain appeasing. Sometimes, the smallest hills are the only ones worth dying on because they hold the key to the mountains of self-respect that lie behind them. My new room setup remains fire, though. The gaming rig stays in there. The master bedroom is just for sleeping. Best of both worlds. The saga is closed. I'm moving forward. For anyone in a similar situation, don't apologize for what you didn't do. Not even once. It never ends there. P.S. Melissa and Tony had me over for beers last week. They confirmed that dinner with Diana was the most excruciatingly awkward experience of their lives. She spent the entire evening attempting to paint a picture of our great marriage, while visibly struggling to hold back tears. They felt so bad they almost considered moving. After I told them the whole story, Tony bought the next round, smiled, and said, "Dude, you dropped this." Good neighbors, indeed.